November 1993, exactly 35 years ago, David Wilkerson came to this metropolis. In November 1958, a 27-year-old, still naive preacher notices a picture in Time magazine showing young drug addicts. This picture grips his heart. He packs his bags and leaves for New York. In the middle of the never-ending spiral of drugs, prostitution, pornography, and violence, he starts talking about love and starts looking after desperate young people. David Wilkerson made such an impression that a motion picture was made of his work in 1969, a film that makes a deep impression, The Cross and the Switchblade.
I'm just a country preacher, 300 miles from home. But I've got a message for you.
Hey, I got a message for you.
Is there anything in your life you'd like changed?
Yeah, I'd like to make the rich poor and me rich.
Now, I know there's some pretty tough guys in this crowd. You wouldn't be afraid to shake hands with a skinny preacher, would you? God loves you, Nicky.
You come near me, I'll kill you.
Yeah, you can do that. You could cut me up into 1,000 pieces and lay them in the street. And every piece will still love you.
Over 200 million predominantly young people have now seen the film The Cross and the Switchblade. Against his will, David Wilkerson became famous because his heart is still with young people in need. David Wilkerson tells how it all started in rural America.
I was sitting in my study in Pennsylvania and I saw a magazine, Life magazine, had a pen drawing, a pencil drawing of 7 boys, their faces. And he captured something that really gripped my heart, the despair of teenagers who had murdered a polio victim. And I felt an urge in my heart, go to New York City and try to talk to them about why they did it, and if anyone had ever talked to them about God or Christ. And in my attempt to see them in the courtroom, nobody let me see them otherwise, I approached the bench, the judge's bench, hoping for an audience with the boys, permission to see them, and he thought his life had been threatened. I didn't know it, and he thought I was there to kill him, and I had a gun hidden inside my Bible.
May I have just a moment?
Get that man out of here.
Can I just say something to that? Say
Get him
something.
out. Get him out.
May I just talk?
Get him out. Get him out.
What did I do?
All right, stand there. Lean forward and press your hands up against the wall and freeze there. Where's the weapon?
Weapon?
A Bible.
Maybe there's a gun in it. Who do you work for, the gang?
Ah, it's just a Bible. Where's the gun?
I don't have a gun. I'm a minister. Those are my ordination papers.
You always carry ordination papers with you? What are you trying to hide? David Wilkerson. That your name?
Yes.
At that time, there were 300 registered gangs here in New York City in 1958. There had been 28 murders that year, and this was my education. I only weighed 115 pounds, so I was no threat to any of them. And that was the beginning.
And from that beginning, in 1958, David Wilkerson seeks to help young people in trouble. This happens in the now 200 shelters that operate worldwide under the name Teen Challenge.
We have tough rules because the men that come here have life-controlling problems with heavy drugs. The rules that we have is no smoking, no drinking, no doing drugs, no messing around with girls like they used to. We have very, very strict rules because we believe that if they don't have rules in their lives and strict discipline, they're not going to make it because they're very undisciplined before they come in.
Yeah. And so if they do it, they're out?
They're out, yes.
Right away?
They're dismissed. No, at first we try to evaluate them and we pray with them.
Yeah.
And we try to give them a second chance.
Yeah.
But if we see that the individual doesn't really want the help, we dismiss them, we ask them to leave.
Yeah.
Hey, Eddie, how you doing? This is Eddie.
How you doing?
Eddie was in the street about 3 weeks ago, and the reason he was in the street, he was here. Yeah. And Eddie was going through a certain trial in his life, and he made a mistake. So we had asked him to leave, and when he left, he was walking down the street through a bad neighborhood, and somebody just came up and shot him.
Really? Yes, yes. What did that? Shot me right here. See, shot me right here. Sure. You know, shot me right here. See, the bullet went through there. See, the bullet went through there, and it came out through here. I've been here for almost a month. This is a month today. Yeah. And I found out through the Upper Room Ministry how this place was established. Yeah. And I think that this is a very conducive place for your spiritual growth, because there's so much going on out in the world. If you don't know Christ, you're going to be caught up out there. And
tell me about your life before you went into this place.
It was miserable. Yeah? Totally. I thought I could handle it on my own. I couldn't.
What did you do? I
was doing drugs, all types of sexual promiscuity and things of that nature. And it wasn't conducive to my spiritual growth. It was hindering me. Yeah. So therefore, I had to give it up.
Yeah. You lived on the streets here in New York?
No, I wasn't living on the street. Yeah. I was working, but the paycheck was getting me in trouble. Yeah. And then I was getting welfare, and that was even worse. So I just gave it to the Lord, and here I am. Yeah. I need your love in the air, every day. I need your love in the air, every hour. I need your love in the air, set your soul on fire. I need your love in the air, I need your love in the air.
When I came to the city 35 years ago, people didn't even lock their doors. The windows were open at night. It was amazing. And so even in Harlem and Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, many of these areas now that you don't even walk even in the daytime, many people are afraid to walk in the daytime, they were very safe. And now, even New Yorkers who've been born and raised here, I've noticed the last 2 years are fearful, other than Christians who believe the angel of the Lord walks with them, and we teach that. But there's a spirit let loose. New York City is going to have some of the greatest trouble of any city on the face of the earth. And ask any police officer on the street that the pot is boiling right now. And if Europe thinks we're a violent nation now, wait till they see and hear of all these fires. People burn down their own neighborhoods out of despair. And it's a demonic outbreak that comes. And I feel I want to be here because that's when people are going to be hurting and needing, and many innocent, good people are going to need spiritual counseling and help, and they need to gather together just to encourage themselves in God.
Get in. This is where you belong. Get in. Or whatever you work with, put them in there.
This is tough. This is the South Bronx. It's one of the toughest areas. A lot of drugs, a lot of guns. It's one of the toughest to work in. Drugs is it's something that we have a lot of that, and we make a lot of arrests. If I was to say that was the number one thing, it is. It's overwhelming sometimes, but when a family in drugs, it hurts. There's a lot of outreach places over here than they will get in other places. There's more drug centers. The hospitals deal with that and counseling, and the churches over here are very big with that. They find help here. They find a sense that they can get food over here. That's why they're here. If they didn't get any food, they wouldn't be here, you know. And we basically talk to people. We try to help them out with their problems. A lot of them have a lot rooted, deep-seated problems that we try to help. You know, we try to make a difference. You know, and that's basically we're like mediators towards you know, the good and the bad. We try to help them out.
Agent Frank Hernandez, one of the many active volunteers helping David Wilkerson in the heart of New York, a city where people feel unsafe, where every day people are killed, a city which is also very popular with tourists, a trend-setting city, setting the tone in areas of fashion and culture. But at the same time, New York is a concrete jungle with over 100,000 homeless people. The unemployment benefit is $600 a month. rent of a small apartment at least $1,000. That's why there are so many homeless people. Some are professional, many homeless against their will. Of course, it's great to talk about the love of Jesus, but that doesn't fill your stomach. This mobile food unit, The Raven, offers food to thousands on behalf of David Wilkerson's ministry.
I collect cans because I get a nickel a can, but it takes me a whole day to get like one bag, you know.
But if I may ask, if I see you, you're a decent man, and you're living on the street.
Yeah, I sleep right up here in the Federal Building. Yeah, that's where I sleep at. I don't, a lot of people in New York, you know, they sell drugs and stuff, and I don't do that. I don't steal and I don't sell drugs. I go from garbage can to garbage can, collect can, and I get a nickel.
So how much do you make a day?
How much did I make today? I didn't make any today.
No, how much do you make a day?
About $3.
You cannot survive on $3?
No.
Is this life desperate?
Yeah.
How desperate? How desperate?
Pretty bad.
Get some coffee. We're going to serve some food in a
Pretty
few
bad
minutes,
out here.
okay? Come and get some coffee.
Just like in the olden days, no matter what the demons say, the blood we claim.
Well, trying to serve your country, you know, you try to do the best you can, and then when you get out, it's like
you were in the Army?
The Air Force, United States Air Force. And when you get out, you just try and survive like you used to. Get a job, live, and wake up every day. If you don't have college or you don't go to some kind of school where you sit down at a desk all day, there's no real hard labor here anymore. Everything seems to be built the way they want it. And now, if you don't have a college degree or you don't have a computer common sense, there's no job for you.
Do you have a family?
Yes, I do.
So why don't you go back to your parents?
Sometimes you have to just
Do they
try.
live? Do your father and mother know that you live this way?
No.
Do you want them to know?
No. Not really, no.
The care given by the co-workers of David Wilkerson offers some hope in the midst of despair. The ultimate result of alcohol and drugs is the loss of family, work, and self-esteem.
I know God's the way you with the truck, right? But look, we all tired, but we don't be fools. Now that's my case. God's the only way out of here.
We serve them a whole lot. We give them, yes, it is all volunteer work for the most part, and we have hot dogs, soup, and coffee in the winter, salad and iced tea in the summer, and different things that we do. You know, sometimes we get anonymous large donations, sandwiches and different things that we can give out.
Every day you go back to the streets, every day. Aren't you not discouraged that you see homeless in an endless stream?
No, I'm not discouraged. I am hurt by the fact that, you know, there is so much homelessness and that there is so much sin abounding in New York City. But I'm not discouraged because the power of God is here to save those who hear the message. And today you saw a whole bunch of people that heard the message, that responded to the message, and that want to go on with Jesus. And for those that want to go on, Jesus said,
This man was listening, and
he's not listening. He's got a Walkman on and he's listening to music right now. This man's drunk, and you know, the poor you'll always have with you. That's what Jesus said. Jesus said the poor will always be with us. You know, so we're here for those that want to come out, and we're going to get them out.
In the mid-'80s, David Wilkerson can't deal anymore with the constant stream of misery in New York. He moves to Texas, but not for long, because he moves back again to New York. In the largest theater on Broadway, he leads an enthusiastic church with over 5,000 members. Many of them are former homeless people or addicts.
I never did leave the city in my heart. I kept coming back in the summers, preaching on the streets. And then 6 years ago, that's when a basketball player named Len Bias died of an overdose of cocaine. And it shocked the nation. He was a multi-million-dollar basketball player. And I was on the streets down here, 42nd Street, just a few blocks, and all the pushers were saying, hey, I got the stuff that killed Len Bias. And the commercial was death. And I started weeping. I said, man, death is the only thing that's held this city from going, all the kids going crazy on drugs because they're afraid to die. But now it's all over. In fact, it was the commercial. Hey, if you want good stuff, you want stuff that'll kill you, I got it. And they were selling cocaine as though it was a great thing to die. And I said, well, Lord, that's the end of it. And I started weeping, and I prayed, God, you have to raise up a church right here in the middle of all this hell. And I heard a still small voice said, you do it. You know the city. You've been here all these years. And I said, I can't. He said, yes, you can. I said, well, how do I get my wife to leave a nice country setting in Texas and come here? And when I went to the hotel, she said, I'm ready. I think we're coming back. When she said, yes, so we came. And that's why we have Times Square Church now.
Next to the church, which is the heart of the ministry, there are a fleet of activities going all over this heart, center of New York, such as?
We have Hannah House. We're very excited about what God's doing among women with life-controlling problems. Hannah House, to me, has been very rewarding to see how women who are prostitutes, alcoholics, drug addicts, homeless, in just 3 months want to get their children back. They see them in church praising God, raising their hands, and I think all of our pastors are very excited about what's happening there, and they, especially when they're restored to their families.
When you meet this joyful American woman, you wouldn't expect that she was a drug-addicted, homeless prostitute for almost 15 years. Thanks to the Care Center for Prostitutes, Hannah House, which is led by David Wilkerson, she was able, after a struggle of many years, to break free from her past.
Brenda, big part of your life happened here, huh?
Yeah, one that I'll never forget, ever. I lived here.
In this?
I lived
on this bench.
Yes, most of the time on this bench. I don't mean to make it funny, but if the wind was too hard, then you moved over there. But yeah, it was this bench for like 16 months. I was in the street, and if it was extremely cold, I slept in subway stations. The place that I slept is here, and I'm seeing that it's different. At that time, there were people sleeping everywhere. And so I slept in here, and virtually nobody knew that we were in there except for the guys who worked there, and they throw us out in the morning. I left my house at 13 years old. I got married when I was 14. And there was no traces of drugs or alcohol any time during the time I was growing up. I wasn't influenced by it, and it was ironic that I just used to kill the pain. It's not ironic that I used it to kill the pain. It's just I wasn't influenced by it in any way as I was growing up. But my second marriage, I had twins. They're now 5 years old. But my life was so reckless that the drinking just abounded. It got so crazy. Drugs got so crazy that I called BCW, which is the Bureau of Child Welfare, and had them placed in foster care. And the same afternoon that they removed my children from my house, I left. And I left with no prefixed or determined place to go. I just left. And I started borrowing money for drugs. I started sleeping at friends' houses. I just started And I hadn't actually gone to prostitute myself until like the last year that I was in the street. But nonetheless, that is the outcome of it all. I had a friend who was a cat burglar before he was a drug addict. When we got to the end of this platform, he started walking on the steps. We walked real far into the tunnel, and even when I got like 15 feet from here, I thought, Brenda, you must be crazy. You have to be out of your mind to do this. But this platform turned into a catwalk through the tunnel. And on that side, all the way down, we heard the train. I looked right at the driver's face and the letter F coming right for me, and I had already knew there was nowhere to go. And the steps that are on the side of the train that came and hit me in my back, I was hit with every other step for about 3 cars. And then it stopped. I know it stopped because the driver saw people on the tracks. But by the time an ambulance came, they took us to Bellevue Hospital. It's one of the largest hospitals in the city. There were no internal injuries, and to the naked eye, the doctor saw no scratches, not a bruise was on my body. And it was as if the Lord concealed me in the shadow of his hand, because nothing happened. My life was over. I knew it was over. I had nothing to live for. This was it. This was it. I was a hopeless drug addict, alcoholic. I knew that my lifestyle dictated death. I knew I was going to die. And there was nothing I could do about it.
We have a city that is falling apart with AIDS and violence and hatred, and there is a solution. I doubt that many will believe it. I doubt that many will accept it, but at least we need to be told. We will hear what God's word says about the healing of New York City. That's why we're here. We believe there is an answer.
Regularly after the service, the whole church of David Wilkerson moves to famous Times Square in the heart of New York. Streets are blocked and the traffic is diverted, while the church is there where it belongs, according to David Wilkerson. There means on the street. And so the work continues, led by an energetic man who, 35 years ago, followed the voice of his heart and of God.